to focus on the Institute of Interfaith Dialogue. I am a member of Faith and Politics, and you must have come up here for a reason, because we're going to grab hold of this institute and ensure that, Dean, it embraces and we embrace here in the United States Congress and Capitol the concepts of this great Imam. It is wonderful that so many of you are from Turkey, and it should be noted publicly, one of the strongest allies of the United States. We are forever in your debt, and we thank the Turkish government for their leadership and their friendship. So I thank Turkey and the Muslim faith that it embraces, and I'm particularly interested in the Gülen Institute's work on interfaith dialogues. That's what I see the Gülen Institute and the Imam's view and spirit about. How can he get beyond who he is and who and where he has come from? What better place than Turkey, who sits itself wedging right in the midst of the interesting viewpoints of Iraq and Iran, yet it maintains its own belief in democracy. What an applause to be able to stand for that. So as we celebrate all my friends that are here, so many from Houston, and the presence of the Gülen Institute and the University of Houston School of Social Work, and the distinguished work of the professor from Rice University, who has now written a number of books and has explained how her life was transformed, and her academic presence here tonight evidences that. Let us be reminded that each of us have heroes in our lives. It may be Gandhi, it may be Martin King, it may be this distinguished Imam by the name of Gülen. But no matter how many heroes we may have, this institute really reflects that in each of us must be embedded the idea of change, commitment, understanding, cooperation, and respect. And if that comes about, I frankly believe, as has been instructed and charged by our previous speaker, we can find a way to ease the pathway for our children of the mounting conflicts. We can be the light and the real beam at the top of the hill to be able to work together with people and make great things and make this world a better place for all of us and our children, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today. Thank you.
Again for inviting me, because, and particularly for the University of Houston. I'm a proud graduate of the University of Houston. I was a business major, went back to law school, and so I'm glad you found a home at the University of Houston last year. We are known in our delegation, both in Texas and in the Houston-Harris County area, to work across party lines. And now there are philosophical differences, and we can talk about those all day, but we also like to see what we can do to work together. And the relationships that we try to build, not only locally but internationally from the Houston area, because we are an international city. And that's why I'm looking forward sometime going to Turkey instead of just spending a night at the Insurik Air Force Base on my way to Afghanistan or Pakistan or somewhere else, because I've been wanting to do it just as a tourist, because the sites, the old Roman ruins, I've read so much about them, and I hope to be able to go sometime that, like I said, we won't be doing 5 countries in 5 days, which is typically what our congressional trips are. And we don't get out of the office buildings of most of the capitals, because we meet with all the officials, and because that's part of our job, but we really don't get to know the country and the people. And I've been able to do that on my own a lot of times, and so I hope to do that. The Gülen Institute was established in late 2007 as a nonprofit and a joint initiative with the University of Houston Graduate College of Social Work and the Interfaith Institute of Interfaith Dialogue. And like I said, I'm a proud graduate of the University of Houston, and it's predominantly the education facility for higher ed from our district, and so it continues to new generations. The institutes are dedicated to studies on mutual human values and are actively transnationally promoted by the Gülen Movement. Your stated vision is to put the advanced means of communication, media, and mobility in search of social harmony and advance knowledge, mutual understanding, respect, and cooperation among people of diverse backgrounds. Sometimes I think you could probably come to the House, just in the Democratic caucus. We have a very diverse background in the Democratic caucus, and we try to work together, and like members of Congress, even across party lines, to work. By your effort by sponsoring forums and conferences like this and event intercultural trips and further that vision for the world. Because we live in a very small world, and it really gets smaller every day. I mean, we can talk about the internet, we can talk about travel, we can talk about the relationships of migration, and it's what's happening. So we are a part of the world. And the more we interface, communicate, and dialogue with people from everywhere in the world, that will make us a better country and a better world to live in. So I got foreign affairs because I think our country has not done a very good job in the last number of years, if not longer, in relationships we have, obviously, with our closest neighbors, but also with our neighbors around the world, including Turkey, who have been a traditional friend.
Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. If you were to open up the Injil, which the Muslims call the Bible or the Gospel, that's what we call the book, the Bible, you'd hear Jesus refer to people he met in that same manner. Peace be unto you, right? And so in another language and in another tongue, we say Assalamu alaikum. You know, it's really an honor to be here. And as I stand here, I reflect upon Ramadan last year. And as you know, we are in the month of Ramadan now. We all have things that are basically the same, but we share them. The challenge in our world, how do we have a politics of generosity and inclusion? How do we come together as a people, in our diversity? Well, the first thing we do is we recognize the diversity as an important and vital strength, not a weakness. It's all right. There's scarcity in the world. That does not mean that we have to fight over it. And if the people of this world who care about peace, tolerance, and getting along, who want to make sure their children grow up and want to make sure that their seniors live out their golden years in dignity, will join together and have a louder and stronger commitment to each other than the people who live life on the extremes, then we would solve many of the problems of the world we live in today. So God bless the Gülen Institute for being a group of people, a body of folks who will come together and say, we are going to have tolerance. We are going to have inclusion. We are not just going to have the will for it, we're going to build the skill for it, because building peace is not easy business, and it's nothing for the faint-hearted. So thank you all very much for what you're doing tonight. Ramadan Mubarak.
Very much. I'm Michelle Chin. I'm Senator John Cornyn's education advisor. But before I came to Washington, I was a professor, a political scientist at Arizona State University, and it was my privilege to go on an IID trip sponsored by the Foundation for Interfaith Dialogue in Arizona. And so I bring a little bit of a personal experience. And I remember that trip very well. As many of you have related, it was a great experience to feel the love of strangers, and strangers who were bound together in a common journey. And like the other speakers and like Reverend Cleaver, I too hope that we can meet our brother in the road. And so we work together with you, and thank you very much for hosting us tonight.
A citizen of Houston for almost 40 years now. And one of the wonderful outcomes of having the Gülen people in Houston for the past 5 or 6 years is not only getting to know them, but they've helped many of us who are interested in interfaith dialogue get to know one another. Jill Carroll at Rice and David at HBU. We were all there in Houston, but it took someone to come into the community and gather us together and be a force that gives spirit to all of us. So on the part of the state of Texas, and especially the city of Houston, I just want to say a wonderful thank you to all of the Gülen people for enriching our city like they have.